Hey, what's up YouTube? It's the Mermail Master here again, coming at you from Team Time Rider's Yugioh channel. Today I got a very special deck profile for you. And this is something that's been near and dear to my heart for a while. And this deck is Archfiends. I actually grew up playing the original chess piece Archfiends. You know, they weren't any good and their effects always, dealt damage in the middle of your standby phase. But I love the art on those cards. I love the style of play. I love Terror King Archfiend, Shadow Knight Archfiend, and their high attacks at the time. Dark Crisis was personally one of my favorite packs, and so when they ended up reviving Archfiends again, I decided that I wanted to build a deck. Now, one of the issues that I do have with this deck is that it doesn't really synergize as well with those chess piece Archfiends as I would have liked. It mostly is its own deck, irrespective of all of the other Archfiends that were released before, things like Mask of Restrict, or Beast of Talwar, or, the spell card that, Axe of Despair was the one I was thinking of. Irrespective of all of those cards, it sort of functions as its own individual deck, but it can easily utilize a lot of the old cards that benefited other Archfiend monsters. And it's got a focus, kind of like the Fire King deck that I profiled before, on destruction. So I'm gonna get right into the deck profile, show you what I'm playing, and do keep in mind that there's actually a very special twist in this profile, something that I'm trying out. So I hope you enjoy it. So to start off with our first monster, it's 3 copies of Archfiend Emperor, the First Lord of Horror. Now this card is going to be your big beast of the deck. He is a beast stick, and though he's level 8, you can actually special summon, or you can actually normal summon him without tributing, but his attack is halved and he's destroyed during the end phase. But his effect allows you to banish any Archfiend card from your graveyard, and you're able to pop 1 card on the field. And this is not only a monster from banishing. So any of the Archfiend support cards, like the spells or traps, you can banish those cards as well. You can even banish an Axe of Despair if you wanted, if you chose to play that, or a Summon Skull, and you'd be able to activate this effect. So it's a really, really good card to get on the field, first and foremost. Next card that I run is 3 copies of Archfiend Commander. Archfiend Commander is more your main playmaker of the deck. He's an Eradicator target, and he can come to the field if you control 1 Archfiend card. You just pop that card, special summons it, but he can't attack the turn that he's summoned, unfortunately. That's one of the main drawbacks about Archfiend Commander that I have a little bit of issue with, but he's still a very, very good card and a necessary evil at 3 in the deck. Also, when he's tribute summoned, you're able to special summon any level 6 Archfiend from your graveyard. So he enables also many different types of rank 6 plays or other Archfiend summons. Now, who would our Archfiend Emperor be without his Empress? Now, a lot of people sort of shy away from playing this card, but I personally really, really like it, mostly because it's a protection for all of your other Archfiends. So while it doesn't protect itself, like if a card would be destroyed by a card effect, then you can just banish 1 Archfiend card from your graveyard, and the card that is being in the process of being destroyed would not be destroyed. And then when Archfiend Empress is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon any level 6 Archfiend monster, any level 6 or higher Archfiend or Dark Fiend type monster from your graveyard. So for instance, you could go for your commander, you could go for another king. It gives you just basically a lot of recursion, and you can get it off of your spell Archfiend Palabyrinth. So I really like her at 2. Not to mention Starstrike Blast is one of my favorite boosters, and Archfiend Empress was the sneak peek card from that set. 1 copy of Archfiend Giant. He's mostly in here as a target for Archfiend Commander. When he would be destroyed, you can pay 500 life points and he's not destroyed. And then also, if he ends up being destroyed by a card effect, you can special summon any Archfiend from your hand. So if he's destroyed by a card effect like a Dark Hole or something like that, you could just grab an Archfiend Empress, special summon it on the field, and just helps open up a lot of plays. The next cards for the Archfiends that I'm running are going to be 3 copies of Archfiend Heiress. She is your main searcher in the deck. Whenever she's sent from the deck or field by battle or card effect to the graveyard, you get to search any Archfiend card and add it from your deck to your hand. And in old Infernity decks, we're actually running this plus a copy of Palabyrinth in order to continue to extend plays with Infernity Archfiend. But Archfiend Heiress just gives you a lot of options for searching. And if you go into like a Zen Mine or a Fortune Tune and you detach Heiress, it counts as detaching for an effect. So you can often go into one of those monsters and special summon it to the field and allow it to get its effect. There is actually a very cool combo that you can do with Heiress involving the your Archfiend commander. You just pop Heiress to special summon the commander and then get Heiress to search for you in effect. And I can actually show you one of the main cool combos that you can do off of that a little bit later in this video. All right, so the final 2 Archfiend monsters that we are going to be running here are going to be 2 Archfiend Cavalry. Archfiend Cavalry is kind of like Archfiend Giant, except when it's destroyed by a card effect, you get to special summon an Archfiend from your graveyard. A lot more recursion. It's great to get this with like an Archfiend Roar at the end of your turn, or at the end of your opponent's turn. Get this, have it be destroyed at the end phase, and then special summon back an Archfiend that you can easily use for your next turn. And now, going into the final Archfiend is 1 copy of Trance Archfiend. Trance Archfiend is mostly in here because your deck is going to be banishing a lot of cards, and Trance Archfiend just really helps with that recursion, gets your fiends just back to your hand. And this works for any fiends and not just the Archfiends. So very, very interesting card. Then we have, let's see here, 2 Tragoedia. Now, Trag is in here as sort of like a test thing. You know, recently it is not as good as it used to be, but Trag is kind of like a fun card that you can use to, you know, sort of give you levels for your XYZ monsters, or, you know, if you have a monsters on the field, like you would be able to special summon XYZ monsters easily. He also counts as a Dark Fiend type monster for, you know, you to special summon off of your Archfiend Empress. And not to mention, you can use Palabyrinth to special summon another one from the deck and go for a Gustav Max, which is always kind of like a surprising, like fun, interesting kind of play that you can do. 1 copy of Tour Guide, self-explanatory, special summon your Heiress from your deck. Very, very, very good card. Wish it would go back to 3, needs to go back to 3, but you know, we gotta wait to see what happens with Burning Abyss. And then Dark Arm Dragon. And Dark Arm Dragon is mostly in here because, like, the Archfiend monsters give you a crap ton of recursion abilities, so you're able to just easily control your graveyard and make it easy for Dark Arm to be summoned. Very, very, very good card. And now, on for the little surprise that I'm going to be showing you. And this is like purely a very casual surprise that I just stuck in the deck just for the fun of it, really. And that is 3 copies of Fushio Richie and 2 copies of the Great Dizard. Now, this is a very interesting kind of like monster setup here, because their Great Dizard is a level 6 that gets effects based on how many monsters it destroys by battle. So you summon Great Dizard, he's a 1900 beater, and his effect basically states if you destroy 1 monster, he becomes untargetable, and then if you destroy a second monster, you can tribute him to special summon a Fushio Richie from your deck. And I think, like, for casual duels and stuff, it's just like a stupid, like, fun kind of thing. You know, you beat over 2 monsters, and then special summon a Fushio Richie. Like, your opponent really does not see that kind of thing coming. Most people have never even seen this card before, but when you special summon Fushio Richie's effect allows you once per turn to flip it face down, and then when you flip it back face up, you can special summon a zombie type monster from your graveyard. So it does allow you to get a little bit of extra mileage out of that. And the Egyptian sort of theme with these, and like, you know, the idea of a ruler going to his death is sort of, I've always found this particular card set very interesting and have always wanted to incorporate them in some kind of deck. A lot of people would say that it might be better in like Hieratics or Monarchs, but I've been enjoying them in Archfiends, and I might test the engine out in something else a little bit further down the line. But for now, those are the final monsters. Now, moving on to the spells. I'm going to start things out with 3 copies of Falling Down. Now, this is the Archfiend specific Snatch Steal of the deck, and it is good. In exchange for 800 life points per turn, you get to steal one of your opponent's monsters. And even better, if it's a fiend, you can use it for Palabyrinth. So it just helps with field clearing, you know, non-destruction removal of monsters that your opponent controls. It's just a very, very good card. And, you know, with Snatch Steal now banned, Archfiends are one of the only decks that can utilize a archetype-specific Snatch Steal. So it absolutely needs to be run at 3. And do note that it also works under any Archfiend card and not just monster. This is something that I'm going to be stressing with a lot of them. So if you have a Palabyrinth out on the field, then you can also activate Falling Down. Not to mention, if you have multiples in your turn, you can steal as many monsters as you want because it's not a strictly once per turn card. Now, for the best card in the whole deck, Archfiend Palabyrinth, the thing that single-handedly makes this deck good. Its effect allows you to allow all Fiend-type monsters on the field to gain 500 attack power, and then you can target one Archfiend monster you control, banish a Fiend-type monster from the field, and then you can special summon any other Fiend-type monster with the same exact level from the deck. So remember I was telling you about that play with Palabyrinth, Archfiend, and Tour Guide before. So I'm going to sort of lay that out right here. So the basic string of plays would be activate Palabyrinth, summon Tour Guide effect fetches Archfiend Eris, excuse me. Then you special summon Archfiend Eris by sacrificing Archfiend, or special summon Archfiend Commander by sacrificing Archfiend Eris. Search your deck for any Archfiend card that you want. Doesn't matter what it is, it may be like whatever you're looking for in that particular moment. And then you can banish your Tour Guide for Palabyrinth's effect to special summon a monster who's the same level as the commander. So in this situation, I'm going to go for Archfiend Giant. And now I have a 3,000 beater and a 29 beater, and if I want, I can go for a rank 6 play. So very, very, very good. Just a small little combo that Palabyrinth can help enable. Can also do it for the level 8, so you can have Empress and join up with Emperor. Good, good, good. Next card are 2 Allure of Darkness. Pretty self-explanatory. This is a dark deck, and if you banish any one of your Archfiends, you can easily fetch them back with like Trance. Reasoning. Mostly because you have a lot of level 6s through level 8s, you can use Reasoning to special summon a monster easily from the top of your deck. You have many different levels in the deck, so if they declare the wrong level and you can special summon the monster, it's a free summon. And if they declare the right level, most Archfiend monsters like to be in the graveyard anyway, and you can just basically send a bunch of Archfiends to the graveyard where they'll be easily recurable. 1 copy of Dark Hole, self-explanatory. The reason I run Dark Hole in here actually is instead of Raigeki is because most of your Archfiends benefit from being destroyed by a card effect. Not necessarily your opponent's card effect, but any card effect in general. And you know, it's why people are saying that Harpy's Feather Duster can come back before Heavy Storm, because in most situations, you stand to gain much more from having a Dark Hole destroy the cards than having a Raigeki. And then the final spell that I run here is 1 copy of Mind Control for really the same reasons as the Snatch Steals in the deck. I've been thinking about testing out some copies of DNA Surgery to allow me to grab control of my opponent's monsters and to take control of them and basically just banish them for Palabrance effect and just get removal and get extra monsters at the same exact time. I think that strategy has a good amount of potential. If I do some testing with this, I'll definitely do another deck profile showcasing that. So that was it for the spells, and now moving on for the traps. I'm gonna start things off here with the First Monarch. I really like the First Monarch in this deck because it not only functions as a rank 6 enabler, it functions as a discard outlet and can also allow you to go in for any dark monsters that you want to summon. So a very, very good card. It can also help you to wall up. And it's just basically in here over, like, for instance, Prime Monarch, because this is not a Monarch-focused engine. This is an engine focused on the Archfiends, and I believe that this is the thing that can best utilize it. 2 copies of Archfiend Roar. This is the card that I was talking about. Pay 500 life points, special summon an Archfiend, but it's destroyed at the end phase. So you can basically just pay 500 life points, special summon any one of your Archfiends. You could special summon Empress, you special summon Cavalry, you special summon like Giant, pretty much anything that you want to summon, or even your Heiress. And then when it's destroyed at the end phase, that's not actually a bad thing, because these two will allow you to special summon from your grave, this one allows you to special summon from your hand, and this one will allow you a search. So Archfiend's Roar is actually much better than Call of the Haunted or Oasis of Dragon Soul in these situations. And not to mention, it's a chainable trap. Call of the Haunted, just one of this because I replaced the other 2 with the Archfiend's Roar. 1 copy of Eradicator, pretty self-explanatory, very, very good card. You summon most of your Archfiends, especially boosted by Palabyrinth, will be able to have Eradicator, so this card is nearly going to always be live. So, always a good card to have to activate. And then finally, 1 copy of Fiendish Griefing. And this is just basically in here to ditch Archfiends to the grave while at the same time sending cards back to your opponent. So you ditch, like, for instance, an Heiress to the grave, get a search, and then your opponent gets a card bounced back to them. So it allows you multiple searches during your opponent's turn. So I'm testing that out at 1 currently. And that was it for the main deck. I believe that was 41 cards. And now moving on to the extra deck. To start things off, I'm going to use the best monster in my extra deck, which is, of course, Constellar Ptolemy M7. Lot of recursion. Bounce any of your opponent's monsters back to their hand from their deck, from their field or their graveyard, or bounce your own stuff from your field or graveyard back to your hand. You can just get back a ton of cards and a ton of monsters that you would not have access to otherwise. 1 copy of Gauntlet Launcher. Basically, even though it's targeting destruction, it's not once per turn, so you detach 2 materials, destroy 2 monsters. Photon Strike Bouncer, rank 6 for negating effects. Utopia Beyond, reduces all the attack powers of monsters to 0, and since most of your Archfiends are going to be really, really strong, if you have a field of a whole bunch of them, you know, that's going to be like 3,000 to 6,000 points of damage on board right there. Gaia Charger, for the obvious reason, you run rank 6s. Wind Up Zen Mines. This is just mainly in here for the triggering of Archfiend. If your opponent is not playing a deck that can easily summon Castel, this can be a problem for them. But, you know, most of the time, you probably should not summon this if you're playing against, like, Pendulums, for instance, who can regularly field, like, a Castel or an Ignister. You don't really need Zen Mines to stay along on the field for long. You just need him here to be that thing that you can have like maybe a small wall and trigger off your Archfiend. One copy of Angineer, protection. Also effect equip. Now we've got one copy of Tachyon Dragon and one copy of Galaxy Eyes Full Armor Photon Dragon. Tachyon's in here mainly for the OTKs. You'll have a lot of fields that you can regularly field more than 2 monsters at a time, so Tachyon and Galaxy are in there mostly for that reason. One Felgran, same difference. I'm testing out him for your plays on rank 8s as well. I currently do not have a Galaxy Eyes number 38 Hope Harbinger Dragon Titanic Galaxy, which is unfortunate, but I'm hoping to be able to pick one of those up soon. Every single time I get one, one of the team members always needs it, so they're not usually around here for long. Next is Lancelot. And Lancelot is a fantastic card. Direct attacking power as well as spell and trap destruction and monster spell or trap negation. It's just too good not to summon. One copy of Hieratic Sun Dragon. I'll probably replace this with the Harbinger Dragon when I get it. And then I have 2 rank 7s in here, one copy of Dracosac and one copy of number 74 for the very off chance that you'll have like a Dark Armed and a Fushio Richie on the field. But, again, these can be replaced by anything that you want. The extra deck is largely up to you. The Archfiend deck really doesn't need an extra deck so much, so, you don't really need to focus on extra deck monsters. And finally, the Gustav Max that I showed you, which can just basically allow you to have fun with Tragoedia. And so that is a 15 card extra deck, and that is it for the main and extra. I hope you enjoyed the deck profile. This is one of my favorite decks that I've profiled on the channel, and it's something that I really enjoy playing. If you want, give it a try out. Whenever Dueling Network comes back up again, or we're able to record more videos, just let us know, give us a holler, and this is the Mermail Master, out.